consistently they saw a very wide demographic, and although the overall general polls are saying there have been more men than we've ever seen before, which I do believe, in these particular polling places in Bucks County, they said it was very even, and they consistently saw an equal amount of men and women and of young and old. And I will say personally, in the times that I was there, I witnessed several people voting for their very first time, which I thought was really exciting.
Definitely. Nikki Stanzione live there at 10:06 p.m. We're looking at North Carolina as well. I know you're in PA, but Virginia as well. So these different states right now, we're seeing shades of red. So President Trump at 198 now against Harris's 99. So we see him with quite the lead right now, looking at, 72 electoral votes away from being the 47th president of the United States, Donald J. Trump. Again, according to the AP and the projections, so we are keeping track of that. Nikki, talk to us a little bit about that event space right there. We know that's a Team Trump watch party in Bucks County. So I mean, this is of the campaign as well, right?
Absolutely, yes. It's the Newtown Sports Facility. It's like the Sports and Rec Arena facility, and it looks just like a big place. It almost looks like a field the way that it's designed. And you have people. By the way, I know you can't see this, but I'll tell you. Behind me is a bar, and there are lots of people on that line because they're ready to celebrate. And then behind there's pizzas. There's people serving different food on the buffet. Then there's also pretzels and cheese and crackers and all kinds of things. But it's filled in by all of these people. I'm seeing a lot of Make America Great Again gear, just like we do at the rallies. It is supported by the Trump campaign, this particular event, and there's Trump cookies, there's a Trump cake, there's Trump signage everywhere, and you can see the big screen, the flags everywhere. It's a very patriotic event, as all the rallies typically are. And Dan Muser is here from District 9, and Bobby, you know, I interviewed him when we were together a few times, and he's here tonight, and I know he's in the lead tonight as well as a representative for District 9. So it's really nice to see a lot of friends that we've been seeing over the entire election cycle here tonight to hopefully have a very big victory celebration.
Well, the nifty Nikki Stanzione with all of the great facts, all of the amazing stuff happening in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. She's keeping us updated, and we always love your coverage. Thank you, Nikki. We'll be back to you at some point tonight as the Commonwealth is going back and forth here. We'll see what happens as these numbers are pouring in. So thank you so much, Nikki. Some exciting news, you guys. Look, the election coming up right now today. As President Trump said the last couple of rallies, my goodness, 6 months ago, 6 weeks ago, and now we're here to reclaim our great nation. But Sticker Mule is offering a free Trump sticker pack when you sign up using this link, stickerpack.com. Whether you want to show your support or just spark some fun conversations, Sticker Mule's got you covered. That is stickerpack.com. Stickerpack.com. Vote for Trump. All great things. These are even some sticker mules right here for RSPN.
Yep. Good website right there. Stickerpack.com. Also, we were talking earlier about callshe.com. So if you just go to Callshe, you can download that and check it out, because right now President Trump in quite the lead over there when it comes to betting and gambling on the U.S. election. So if that's what you like to do, you can do it right there at Callshe. It's really hot right now. A lot of people on there. The percentages have really jumped up for President Trump. So callshe.com. Check it out. Bet $100 on Trump and get $175. So a great sponsor at Brightside Broadcasting Network, callshe.com. All right, so Bobby, Pennsylvania right now, President Trump at 50.5%, Harris 48.6% in Pennsylvania. That's with 49% of the votes counted. So President Trump has 198 electoral votes. Colorado just went to Kamala Harris. All right, so we know that it's 198 to 109 right now. So what we're looking at here is that close-up number for Pennsylvania, as you guys see. 48.5% in. And then also, if we can look at possibly North Carolina or Virginia, North Carolina or Virginia. Let's go with North Carolina first. Right now, what we're seeing in North Carolina, with 68% of the votes counted according to the AP, that 51.9% in the Tar Heel state, leading Harris to 47%. So you see that right there. Those numbers are exactly what we have right here on RSBN. So 51.9 to 47. Guys, that is the key swing state of North Carolina, 16 electoral votes. Why don't we look at Wisconsin? If we have Wisconsin, let's go there. 42% of the votes counted in Wisconsin. We do know that Wisconsin is leading 50.6% for President Trump to 47.9 as well. So looking at North Carolina, we just saw Pennsylvania, North Carolina, and also we're seeing the numbers from Wisconsin. So we're seeing a lead in several key swing states right now for President Trump. Also in Georgia, we do see also a lead there, 52.2. Bobby, let's talk about Georgia, 52.2 to 47.2 in the Peach State.
And there is a graphic here with other candidates roughly bringing in slightly over 29,000 votes at the moment. You have Jill Stein of the Green Party, Chase Oliver of the Libertarian Party, perennial candidates. We'll see how that comes into play with different options there, because on Georgia's ballot, they had roughly 6 different options at play, and that might come into some workings here in the final vote, as we have 82% of the votes counted, and President Trump with a relatively significant lead and has kept that most of the night in the Peach State.
And you're looking right now at Wisconsin, electoral votes 10 in, 42.5% of the vote. President Trump in the lead of that swing state as well. There are 7 swing states. You guys have heard all about it here at Right Side Broadcasting Network, the 93 coveted electoral votes. But we're going to throw into the mix, not only for fun, but for facts, because Virginia has 13 electoral votes right now. Well, it's leaning towards President Trump. He has a slight 1% lead in the Commonwealth of Virginia. I know we're looking at Wisconsin right now, but I'm looking at Virginia as well. 49.7. That's okay. Do we have an electoral map we can just go to at this point and check out Virginia as well? 49.6 for President Trump to 48.7 for Virginia. So we see a lot of great things happening out there in the country when it comes to some of the swing state leads for President Trump.
Absolutely, and still 198 to 109, less than 100 left to get to that coveted 270 title. At least as of right now in the evening, it really seems as if that early vote initiative has significantly helped the Republican Party.
Exactly, and we're seeing some great numbers right now for President Trump. And, you know, at the end of the day, people early voted. They voted today, and we're seeing the numbers come in with the Associated Press as we look at all of the country right there on the right side of your screen. A decent amount of red, as you see. Colorado just went to Harris. You see Illinois, New York went to Harris. But you see, you know, a lot of other states going to President Trump. So we're going to be monitoring, of course, all night the key swing states. Wisconsin has not been called. Michigan, Pennsylvania, Georgia, North Carolina, Arizona, and Nevada have not been called. And of course, the wild card, as they say, Virginia right now.
I'm surprised at how long that stayed in a light red direction. Of course, we have more numbers coming in and have to dissect all of it, but President Trump, clearly his campaign saw something there, having visited Salem, Virginia. And maybe it's also this crossover from Governor Glenn Youngkin, a very popular governor, very bipartisan, but coming across with that main core issue of keeping men out of women's sports. It's mostly affected the Commonwealth.
Exactly. So let's get ready to go to Christina Loren, who is live in the election headquarters there as well. There's so many different things going on right now when it comes to the amount of states that we're seeing get called. So we'll be going to that projection room here in a second. But again, President Trump, 198 to Harris, 109. For those of you that are just joining us right now, thank you so much. I'm Matthew Alvarez alongside Bobby McNeely. We'll be going to Christina Laurent here in just a second. We have a couple sponsors to thank. We'll get to that right now. Let's go to Victory Coffee. Fellow Patriots, you're ready to fuel your day with a taste that's as bold as your beliefs. You can do that through Victory Coffee Roasters. You see that website, victorycoffeeroasters.com. That's one way to wake up right there. Great tasting coffee, victorycoffeeroasters.com. And then you switch over to another gear of republicanred.com, Republican Red Winery. This is a discount as well if you use the RSBN promo code. So, Bobby, a lot of different variety of wines at Republican Red.
You have the Never Surrender Pinot Noir, of course, a Second Amendment Cabernet. How about the Drain the Swamp Chardonnay? A nice, crisp, refreshing white wine for the good golden era that is hopefully upon us if this night goes in the direction of President Trump.
Exactly. So looking forward to seeing the outcome as we are tracking everything here at Right Side Broadcasting Network. Speaking of tracking the numbers, let's go now, if we're ready, to RSBN's Christina Laurent, who is live in the room there, you know what it's called?
Projection room.
The projection room. Let's go to Christina right now.
Hey, thank you guys. I really have been watching this map very closely and doing some math as well, because after all, you don't want to get too cocky. It's still too soon, but it does look very favorable for President Donald J. Trump. Now, there's two states that have flipped just within the last 5 minutes or so from red to this lighter shade of blue. It's New Mexico and Arizona, but remember, these are both border states. So we're going to be watching very closely for what happens, especially in Arizona. Obviously, it's a swing state. The numbers that have come in so far are coming in from Phoenix. So we don't want to put a lot of weight into that flip from red to blue just over the last 5 minutes or so. Now, New Mexico has looked really good. The numbers that are coming in that are now starting to push it from red to blue. Santa Fe, which is just outside of Albuquerque. As you can recall, however, President Donald J. Trump just had a massive crowd at his Trump rally in Albuquerque. So we're going to have to wait and see what happens here. 5 electoral votes up for grabs within the state of New Mexico. Meanwhile, it's 11 votes up for grabs in that border state, that all-important state of Arizona. Now, obviously, Arizona is a big state for the Senate race as well. We've been watching, hoping for Kari Lake. Right now, you take a look at this map, Ruben Gallego is still looking favorable at this moment, but it's the same deal. We saw Phoenix had voted. All these rural counties that have had to deal with the border, the wide open border, the crime rates going up, the threat of more tax dollars that we're going to have to delve out in order to sustain this brand new population. It's very concerning. Ruben Gallego now at 53.0%, Kari Lake at 45%. It's still early, very early within the state of Arizona, where only 48% of the votes have been counted. Now, when you have to compare what's going on with Kari Lake versus Donald Trump, it's still looking much better for Donald J. Trump. We're just going to have to wait and see when it comes to the presidential numbers that have been included, 48% at this time. Now, I want to take a look at what's happening in Pennsylvania, because you boys just diligently pointed out Pennsylvania is a state that has gone from blue to red. Now, we have the major reporting sites, Pittsburgh, Harrisburg, Allentown, and Philadelphia. These are all blue. Most of the numbers have been tallied up at this point. So within the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, we now have 52% of that vote tallied up. However, all those rural counties now are slowly starting to be counted. And so Pennsylvania, with 19 critical electoral votes on the line, could very easily go to Donald J. Trump. North Carolina, 73% of the vote has been counted at this point. I want to zoom in and show you what's happening county by county. Raleigh, you have blue. Charlotte, blue. Greensboro, still blue in this area. But you look at all this red, and I really want to point out what's happening here on the eastern side of North Carolina. you have more of that blue. But on the western side, this is the area that was hit so hard by Hurricane Helene. People still got out. In fact, they were more motivated than ever to cast their vote for Donald J. Trump in this part of the country because they saw how he was there for them when Kamala Harris was not. And they didn't have any trouble getting to the ballot box. A lot of them went out of their way to make sure to cast that vote. So that is incredibly inspiring. Right now, we currently have Kamala Harris at 112 and then Donald J. Trump at 198. Again, California carries a lot of weight, 54 electoral votes up for grabs, 12 in Washington state. And in between, you have Oregon with 8 on the line. Idaho typically goes red. That's going to be 4 electoral votes. And then, of course, another swing state where we really don't have any data just yet is Nevada, where we have 6 electoral votes up for grabs. Also watching that Senate rate for Sam Brown in this part of the country. We're going to have to wait another hour, possibly another couple hours before we start getting any meaningful data back. But so far we're looking good, and Alaska is also an interesting state. And I know, Bobby McNeely, you know all about Alaska. We're going to have to wait quite a bit longer in order to get Alaska with 3 electoral votes up for grabs.
As President Trump says, drill, baby, drill, frack, frack, frack. And it would be nice to drill in Anwar, get that Keystone pipeline back to bring down our energy costs, and once regain energy independence for our great country.
Exactly. So we know that the 20 GOP platform promises, from seal the border, defend the Constitution, secure our elections, the list goes on. So many things, Christina, that President Trump is ready to do for this country. And you know, in those speeches that we've heard, all 3 of us and our whole crew here at the network, he talks about we are on the verge of the 4 greatest years of our country. He talks about a golden age and common sense politics and leadership. So, you know, we're watching here, and I know that those of you watching right now on Right Side Broadcasting Network, we want to thank you guys for tuning in, trusting us as we bring you the numbers tonight. This is not something we take lightly, as we are a conservative network here at Right Side Broadcasting Network. So, all right, let's go back to you, Christina. Let's look at, let's pick a state that is one of the swing states. We know we've talked about Pennsylvania, North Carolina, Georgia. Why don't we go to, let's go to Arizona once again, and just look at Arizona's numbers as the polls, I believe, closed at 9 p.m. Eastern.
All right. And you know, Arizona is another one of those states where we should have a pretty quick answer. We're hoping for one. But again, we talked to Andy Biggs, representative, and he actually carries part of Maricopa County. He doesn't know for sure. He didn't feel very confident that we would have an answer. He thinks it's going to be incredibly tight in the state of Arizona, and that could very well happen. So we just have to kind of hold our breath for now before we get too excited about anything. But I do want to point out, it is the major reporting sites that surround Phoenix. That is where you're getting that blue right now. And you take a look at all the areas around here where we don't have those votes tallied up just yet. These are rural parts of Arizona. Now, Arizona, obviously, this is a big farming area. You've got the Colorado River that runs through, and so this is big on agriculture. So a lot of these areas, the outlying cities, the small towns that surround Phoenix, are likely to go to Donald J. Trump. We don't have a lot of reporting data coming in just yet from Tucson, Arizona either. Let me just kind of give you an idea of what's happening in the House races, because we've got some pretty meaningful data coming in as well. And again, when you take a look at this map, I do believe that the House is going to be able to keep their majority. We're also looking good in states like North Dakota. That has been decided. That's red. You've got Oklahoma, Texas, and a lot of these key areas. See, even here in West Texas now, we're looking good. That's the Texas Hill Country. It's going to stay red. Now, these are border states. And so it's no surprise to me that people are voting for representatives in their district that are going to be tough on illegal migration. And it's about time. This really tells the story here. We're going to have to wait and see how it pans out across states like Arizona and New Mexico. But look at this in New Mexico. When you talk about the congressional races, you talk about the House, we're already leaning, when you get closer to that border, we're leaning red for the representatives in that state. So overall, things are looking good. Hopefully, we will get that margin that we need in the Senate in order to have control for the Republican Party. And of course, we want that big victory for Donald J. Trump, but these two states that are blue right now, Arizona and New Mexico, I would not be surprised whatsoever to see them both turn red. Minnesota is another state that is showing a lot of promise at this hour. You can see where the reporting data has come in so far. Just outside of Minneapolis, the most populous area across Minnesota, this is red that's coming in. And so when you look to the north, where you get up against that Canadian border here, this is all areas they have not reported yet. This is rural America. Once again, I do believe that rural America is going to decide this election, and they're going to do so in favor of Donald J. Trump. 198. We're looking good right now. We don't want to get cocky, as I like to say, but hey, when it comes down to it, this is what you want to see at this point in the evening. There's not a lot right now for us to get too upset about, except for some of those key Senate races like Arizona for Kari Lake, which I'm going to continue to watch very closely.
And Christina, we're just looking at some of those House numbers that you featured. Brian Jack in the 3rd Congressional District of Georgia winning a victory. So the House looking very good at the moment. Of course, still very narrow. And it looks like, if I'm not mistaken, with the other chamber, the Senate, it looks like there is a +1 advantage thus far, a gain for the Republicans with Governor Jim Justice, now Senator-elect Justice from West Virginia.
Absolutely, and we're still going to have to wait. There's some key Senate races. Mike Rogers is 47.6 to 48% against Slotkin in the state of Michigan, so that's going to be another one that we're watching very closely for you. In Ohio, Bernie Moreno, 50.9% to 45.9%. It looks like he will take that seat. That is very inspiring for all of us. And then Montana is another big state, and they just started reporting. You got Tim Sheehy, who is going up against John Tester. Now, Tim Sheehy, of course, he's an amazing man. He's a veteran, and that is looking really good for him. He's got 59.5% of the votes so far. Only 2% have been tabulated at this point. Nonetheless, it's looking good for Tim Sheehy in this early stage of counting votes in the state of Montana.
For potentially a gain there with Tim Sheehy against longtime Senator Tester, who's going for his 4th term, but we've had every 2 of 3 residents moving there is a registered Republican, so a big change for the treasure state of Montana.
You know, Montana, big sky country up here. Again, I mean, even up here, even way to the north of the border, these are all areas that have been impacted by illegal migration. The border is going to change a lot of this blue to red. Now, obviously, Colorado, even with Aurora, Colorado, it's just too hard. Arizona just flipped right back to red. So that's inspiring right there. But in Colorado, in the city of Denver, where you have the most populous, the densest population within Colorado, I mean, unfortunately, President Trump couldn't get it. But you would think, even in Colorado, being so close to the border, that people would just be fed up at this point with Biden and Kamala Harris.
State of Colorado, it is one of my favorite states because it's gorgeous. The scenery there is amazing. Aspen, Telluride, Grand Junction, Denver, the whole place.
Right.
Beautiful scenery, just unfortunately, you know, leaning to the left again. But hey, you know what? The people are having their voice heard tonight, and I think through a free and fair election, it's always going to be great. So let's go to the couple sponsors that we have here. Let's go with Juvent right now. Big pharma, big medicine, and lobbyists that have made their way into places they shouldn't be often lead to the suppression of products like the Juvent Micro Impact Platform. The platform will radically transform the way you think about, approach overall health. So that information you see on your screen, definitely worth it with Juvent right there. You've likely heard of, or possibly heard of, impact loading. So our bones grow stronger when they're exposed to certain levels of stress, like walking or running. So Juvent uses all safe, gentle vibrations to give your bones the boost they need. So that information you see there on your screen. Let's also talk about PatriotAddictDeals.com. Patriot Addict Deals, as you know, Bobby, so many great products and merchandise on there, including either the Trump knife or the shot glass there. So many different things on patriotaddictdeals.com.
I actually purchased the Trump Force One model Air Force One plane, so very excited. I don't know where I'll put it yet, but I was really thrilled. So I have to stay away from Patriot Addict Deals because it is one of the best sites, and you can use the coupon code RSBN30, that's RSBN30, 30% off for the Election Day special. These are really high quality knives, and you can add them to your collection or gift them to your loved ones for the holiday season. Christmas is right around the corner.
Exactly. So some great deals there at patriotaddictdeals.com, and then use that promo code for 30% off. All right, let's get back to the key swing states. The key swing states, including the wild card state that we're adding into the mix today, Virginia. So Virginia looking quite interesting right now. Let's look at it as we see. Right now, Harris has a 0.3% lead in Virginia, a 0.3% lead. If you look at North Carolina, Georgia, Wisconsin, Pennsylvania, President Trump right now is leading in Pennsylvania, Wisconsin, North Carolina, and Georgia. Bobby McNeely, can you believe it?
Wow. I mean, it's really remarkable. It's showing that for this period of time, even though it's too close to call in these states, that the Trump campaign really did well with number 19 of the Trump Force 47 promises, that second contract with America that we spoke so highly of on this show. Number 19, get out early or absentee vote. If you have to, Election Day. And this could pay dividends as we keep going deeper into the night with this strong-looking map thus far for the electorate. It's clearly something where the Republican Party was able to mobilize voters really in a unique way, and perhaps I haven't done this maybe since the Reagan years, at least in these droves of the numbers we're currently seeing.
If you're just joining us, thank you so much. This is Right Side Broadcasting Network. This is Election Night in America. We are live in Alabama. We have hosts live in Florida and in Pennsylvania. We'll be going to Florida shortly for the Team Trump watch party in Palm Beach. 10:33 at the bottom of the hour. Let's go through some of the states that President Trump has won already, and then it looks like we'll be going to Florida as well. So, speaking of Florida, President Trump has won Florida, South Carolina, Alabama, Mississippi, Louisiana, Arkansas, Oklahoma, Texas, Utah, Wyoming, Montana, North Dakota, South Dakota, Missouri, Indiana, Kentucky, Tennessee, West Virginia, Ohio, and then he has the lead in North Carolina, Georgia, Pennsylvania, Wisconsin, and even now, Bobby, Minnesota.
Wow.
I mean, quite the lead, actually. Let's look at this.
Right.
It's only 4% of the votes counted, but he has a 58.7 to 38.1% lead in Minnesota. That would be quite great to see 10 electoral votes from that state.
And this is one that has been coveted for him. He only lost by 2% 8 years ago, and I think he would really appreciate winning the Great White North of Minnesota, because 10 electoral votes could make a big difference in a race like this.
Especially when it looks like the numbers 198 electoral votes for President Trump right now. Harris has 112. So thank you for tuning in, because we are going to see a result, I believe, tonight for the presidency, for the 47th President of the United States. That is just a guess, but when you look at what we see, it's looking like we might have a result tonight. Now, if not, we'll be definitely covering this all the way through until we know who the 47th president is selected to be through a win tonight. So you see there, Minnesota, as we were just talking about, President Trump with the lead in that state. That's 10 electoral votes. Quite the state to win. It's a wild card state. I'm going to add that to the list here. So we have Virginia as a wild card state, and then now Minnesota as a wild card state. So that is a total of 23, Bobby, 23 electoral votes now just in the wild card state category that we just created. But it's still true, because we didn't know if Minnesota or Virginia would be possibly going red like this.
Right, and as it stands right now, of course, too early to call, but Illinois looks like a lonely island of blue amidst some heavy red right now.
No, that's a great way to look at it. I mean, we can see the map all across the country right now, and you're right. You know, there's that stronghold of Chicago, but even the people in Chicago, being from there, you know, I'm not, but I know you are, Bobby. But can you talk to us about that a little bit? We saw people there saying, "I'm fed up with the Harris-Biden administration."
Well, and we'll see more of what is actually happening on the south side of Chicago, because President Trump has been the most popular Republican candidate since Dwight D. Eisenhower in some of those south side precincts, more traditionally Democrat over the course of really the last half century. But that's really one of the main differences, and I can compare that to Oregon. Oregon is really dominated by Portland's population. And you look at the rest of the state, hunting, agriculture, fishing, a lot of gamesmanship as well. So people who actually appreciate their Second Amendment. And same thing for Illinois. Now, going down to my adopted home state now of the Peach State of Georgia, as I was mentioning earlier, that rural area really turning out is actually more significant because Georgia is much more evenly dispersed, even in those rural counties, versus the major urban center of Atlanta and, of course, Cobb, Fulton, DeKalb, and Gwinnett, those counties.
And I do want to, there's a possible correction for the state of Illinois. We did just show a graphic there. We just want to make sure that the numbers for Illinois right now has Harris with 70% of the votes in, a win for Harris for Illinois for that 19 electoral votes. That's what we're seeing here on the latest numbers. So just want to correct that just in case anybody is obviously looking at the graphic there, the one that we previously showed. Anyway, back to what we were talking about. So Georgia right now looks like a 51.3% lead over Harris, 48.1%.
And give or take right now, 150,000 votes, President Trump is ahead with 88% of the votes counted. This would be a significant victory to win bigly and boldly for the state of Georgia. And of course, there you're seeing the prairie state of Illinois, those numbers, Harris significantly winning that. Illinois, once a very Republican state, but really has not gone for a Republican since 1988 when President George H.W. Bush, 41, was elected with really arguably a landslide, over 400 electoral votes in his own regard, coming off of those 8 incredible years of President Ronald Reagan's leadership.
So if you go just slightly north, or exactly one state north of Illinois, it is Wisconsin. Wisconsin, Minnesota, and Michigan, that whole northern part right there, obviously on the border of Canada, they are all in the red, not in the sense of a race called or projected yet, but you see Wisconsin, 53.8% in. President Trump, 50% versus 48.5%. He is leading in that swing state. And Bobby, that is 10 electoral votes. Why don't we talk about the numbers here? So we know that the 93, right? 93 key swing states. Then add 23 for the wild card swings, the wild card states of Virginia and Minnesota, because right now he's leading in Minnesota. It keeps going back and forth with Virginia. I mean, this thing is real tight right now when it comes to the numbers. 49.6 is Harris, 48.7 for Trump in Virginia. So those numbers coming in, we're going to be watching Virginia and Minnesota closely on top of the 7 swing states.
Well, let's take a hypothetical. Let's say President Trump, playing devil's advocate, loses the Badger state of Wisconsin but obtains Minnesota. That's an even 93. He's the next president of the United States.
Exactly.
So you have this could actually happen where some surprises take place.
Exactly. So is there a new call right now, guys, as we look and we see President Trump at 204? 204 electoral votes to 112. Looking across the union right now and looking for any states that have popped up, but Montana, so there's the latest numbers, 204 to 112. The key is 270, the path to Washington, D.C., 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue. President Trump leading right now as you're watching live here on Right Side Broadcasting Network. All right, so having Ohio and Florida, to your point earlier, Bobby, remember we were talking about the older electoral college in a sense of past election cycles.
Right.
Those were huge states to win. Now it's a
And
little
very
bit,
difficult to win.
right, and a lot different now it seems.
Right. And if you look at, and this is the influence of the Trump momentum and President Trump's endorsement and how key it is, because Governor Ron DeSantis was way behind in the primary. President Trump came in and helped defeat a very popular statewide agriculture commissioner in the state of Florida and a former congressman. Ron DeSantis rises to that, but he only beats Andrew Gillum, the socialist mayor of Tallahassee, by 0.04%. His reelection, he wins by over 20% of the vote. And that shows you the changing of the map, especially people moving from blue areas into the more red states because of COVID mandates and because of what has taken place really in the last 4 years. The map has changed.
The thing that's wild, guys, those of you watching right now, whether you're watching at a election party, whether you're watching with friends and family, whether you're watching by yourself, I want to talk directly to you real quick. In 60 more electoral votes, President Trump wins. Iowa has now just went to Trump. Iowa has just now went to Trump as well. 6 electoral votes for the Hawkeye state. The caucus for Iowa did great there before the primary in New Hampshire, and now look at it, winning in the presidential election. The projected winner, according to the Associated Press, the state of Iowa. Bobby, I mean, we're at 210 for President Trump. We need 60 electoral votes. We see him winning in Minnesota, not winning, leading currently. He may win these states, but my point is he's leading in Minnesota, Wisconsin, Michigan, Pennsylvania, Georgia, North Carolina, and Arizona. Technically right now on the map, it is in favor of President Trump in all of those states. He only needs 60 electoral votes to be the 47th president of the United States.
A remarkable political comeback potentially. So 60 out of the 93 needed. If you made a bet on Kalshi regarding Iowa, because we saw major news outlets saying Iowa would drop for Kamala Harris, you've probably just made some money.
You made some money, but I'll tell you what, under President Trump, we'd be making a lot more money because the gas prices would be down. But that's for another day. We're talking numbers right now. Let's go to Palm Beach, Florida. RSBN's Harrison Fields and Megan Kohler. They're live at the Team Trump watch party. Man, it might be a party tonight in Florida. Let's go out there to Harrison and Megan. If they're ready, let's go there now. Okay, obviously a little bit of audio issues there.
A historic.
And there they are.
J. Trump, it definitely seems like 45 will be becoming 47 in a matter of hours. Still early, a lot of returns still coming in, crucial battleground states, Michigan, Wisconsin, Pennsylvania. But let me tell you, they underestimated Donald Trump again. And I think he is proving to the media and to the world that is a bad bet.
That's exactly right. We have less than 100 votes to go for Donald Trump to secure the 270 votes for the Electoral College. Lots of races being called here on the ground tonight. And every time they call a race for Donald Trump, of course, everyone's cheering. And even as the votes are coming in and he's increasing, like in Pennsylvania, for example, everyone's cheering. People are super excited here. More and more people are starting to gather in front of the stage, in front of the TV screens, getting ready for a Trump victory. We're so excited. He has 198 electoral votes. Pennsylvania is in counting, but Trump is up there. Georgia getting ready for Trump. Kansas, Arizona, Minnesota, Wisconsin, Iowa are all leaning Trump. So we are so excited to see what happens next.
Yeah, so the pathway for President Trump was a number of ways. The Sun Belt, North Carolina, Georgia, Arizona, that's one path. And then you get one of the blue wall states up in the Midwest. Donald Trump is doing something that he did in 2016. He's winning the Sun Belt, but he's also winning the Rust Belt. If you look at turnout in Pennsylvania, I was talking to internal sources that said Pennsylvania is a wrap for Trump. If Trump wins Pennsylvania, it's over. Then you look at Wisconsin. The numbers in Wisconsin are historic for President Trump right now. It's the rural vote, but it's the lack of the urban vote for Kamala Harris. And you ask yourself why. All the exit polls, all the reporters on both sides of the aisle are saying the Black and Hispanic community and the Jewish community are voting for Republicans in ways that they've never seen before. It's a testament to the good work of the Trump campaign trying to court Black voters, Hispanic voters, Jewish voters, and they talked about the issues. Kamala Harris has done nothing for these communities, nothing at all. She sided with the pro-Palestinian groups, which is why you have Jewish Americans voting in record numbers for Republicans. She hasn't done a thing for Black people. She hasn't done a thing for Hispanic people. Donald Trump had a record of success, and they trust him on the issues of the economy, the border, and ending the wars overseas. We're seeing something that's historic right now. And then you look at the Commonwealth of Virginia. Donald Trump is within 30,000 votes in the Commonwealth of Virginia. If that doesn't sound like DEFCON 1, 2, 3, the Democrats are like, wow, we missed something big right now.
They really underestimated the enthusiasm that Donald Trump has, which is exactly what happened in 2016. Again, in 2020, I think they're a little more prepared for that. But now, a Trump, I want to call it a landslide, but I think it's a monsoon. Is that even bigger than a landslide? There's so many people turning out to vote for President Trump in this election.
It's not a trickle. Some would say it's not even a wave. Some would say if he gets 316 plus, which a lot of projections are saying he may get 316, tsunami, typhoon, whatever you want to call it, it looks really, really good. The outstanding vote, especially in Pennsylvania, isn't for the Democrats. A source was telling me that they just don't have the numbers right now. It's a math game. Math is simple. There's no fooling around, no funny business with the math. They either have the voters out there remaining or they don't. And a lot of people are looking in, zooming in on Pennsylvania, and they're trying to find the votes. Where are they going to get it? And I think the answer is increasingly starting to be clear that they just don't have the votes in Pennsylvania to get it over the finish line for Kamala Harris. And if Trump wins Pennsylvania, he may be here before midnight, because you have a situation where his advisors are saying, sir, you've won Pennsylvania, you've won North Carolina, you've won Georgia, Arizona's coming out now, he's already in the lead there, Nevada's going to be coming out very soon. It's a wrap. It's a wrap for him if the numbers continue right now. We don't want to get ahead of our skis, but you got CNN saying, I would rather be Donald Trump right now. So very interested to see what Kamala headquarters is feeling right now. I think he shocked the world again.
That's exactly right. And over on the West Coast, a lot of poll stations are starting to close. It's almost 11 p.m. here on Eastern time, so we'll see what happens with the West Coast states and Mountain Time states starting to close their polling stations and get their counting and votes in. But we have some updates on the Senate races. It is looking really, really, really good for Bernie Moreno of the Republican Party in Ohio with 79% reporting. He's leading 50.9%. Dave McCormick for Pennsylvania has 49.2% with 55% reporting. Ted Cruz, they were just cheering for Ted Cruz out there, looking to win Texas. Tammy Baldwin from the Democrat Party in Wisconsin has 49.2 with 50% reporting. So that we'll keep an eye on that as well. So let's see what happens in the Senate. I really believe the Republicans are about to take the Senate majority.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's tough to see because we don't have all the live numbers. And I'm sure the studio will probably fill in what we can't fill in just because we don't have the resources right now. But I think the Senate basically is split. If you look at, let's just call it Ohio, obviously Wisconsin, let's hope Wisconsin, West Virginia. A little disappointed to see that hung cow did not pull it off in Virginia based off the projections that I'm seeing. But Trump is still in the game in Virginia. Let's talk about Iowa. For the past 72 hours, they've been talking about this Iowa poll, talking about how if Kamala Harris truly is in the lead in Iowa, then what else are we missing in Wisconsin and other battleground states? The Iowa poll that was released showing Kamala Harris up was a farce. It was a lie. It was a dereliction of duty even to publicize that poll when no other poll was showing Iowa. And reminds me of 2016 when ABC released a poll showing Donald Trump losing to Hillary Clinton by 16 points in Wisconsin. He went on to take the state. So they released this bogus poll in Iowa. The campaign already knew it was bogus. All the people on the ground were saying, Mr. President, this poll is not real, this is not legitimate. This so-called amazing pollster stood by her poll, and Donald Trump won the state by over 12 points. So it goes to show you that, again, the polling did not add up this time. Trump voters weren't answering the call. They kept their vote private. They voted early, they voted today, and they voted with force. And they did something that the media is going to be scratching their head tomorrow. Wow. We underestimated the Republican Party again, but we also underestimated the capabilities and the frustrations of the people. You look at the Hispanic community. I'm half Puerto Rican. We were gaslit for the past week about a stupid joke at the Madison Square Garden rally. Puerto Ricans showed up for Trump today. Black people, we've been told all the time how Republicans are so racist, how Donald Trump is going to put you back in chains like Joe Biden said. Black people showed up for Trump today. So you're seeing an historic coalition develop, not to mention the Jewish population, who have literally felt like they've had a target on their back because of Kamala Harris and Joe Biden. They showed up for Trump today. So you're seeing a historic coalition of support in every battleground state that was needed. Georgia, North Carolina, Pennsylvania, Wisconsin, Nevada, Arizona. Minority communities are shifting to the Republican Party in ways that we haven't seen in generations, and they're voting for Donald Trump.
So true, and I really think the Democrats have just taken the minority vote for granted.
Of course.
All those groups you just listed, they basically think, oh, we have it in the bag. The Democrats think they don't have to earn those votes of those people, but the people are waking up and they're realizing, what have you done for our community?
Yeah.
Our community is worse off under you versus when we were under President Trump.
Right.
So these people are waking up, they're turning out to vote for President Trump, and there's a lot of black pastors waking up as well and speaking out about Christian values in the church. They're saying, why are we voting for Democrats when they're completely against Christian values?
Yeah. We talked about the underestimating of the American people. They did it again. Never underestimate the frustrations of the American people who have been screaming at the media, screaming at the White House. We have a crisis at our border that they've completely ignored for almost 4 years, screaming that prices were way too high. We can't afford gas, groceries, and rent. The Democratic Party said inflation was what? Transitory. That the economy is the best economy in the world. As if that's supposed to help us. When gas, groceries, and rent are all up 30, 40, 50%, the American people spoke. They've got issues with the wars overseas. They know that Donald Trump was the first president, in my lifetime at least, that didn't start a war. People want that again. When Donald Trump said, my foreign policy is simple. I want people to stop dying, senselessly dying. I wouldn't be surprised if he gets on the phone with Putin and Zelensky tomorrow and gets the whole Eastern European war over in a day.
Literally.
We were so hungry for leadership, so hungry for strength back in the White House. They looked at Kamala Harris as weak, but also someone who didn't have legitimacy on the world stage. Because based on the administration's record, how could anyone believe that she would stop the war in Ukraine? That she would somehow help Israel? That she would somehow stand up for Taiwan? Donald Trump has that legitimacy because he brought peace at home and abroad. And they're voting on the issues. The issues today.
Kamala Harris has not shown strong leadership qualities in any essence of what you just described. I mean, even as the borders are, she did not even go down to the border until everyone kept pressuring her to finally do so. Imagine her on the global stage negotiating trade deals with other leaders of other countries. When it comes to foreign policy, being the commander-in-chief of our military, people are realizing that that's we can't even picture her in that position.
No.
We need real leadership, like with Donald Trump. And people in Democrat-run states, Democrat-run cities, they're realizing that over time, why do we keep voting for Democrats when they're not giving us any kind of results? People who have been in office for way longer than they ever should have been. We need some term limits, by the way. I'm all about term limits, but hey, that's just me. Bernie Moreno is doing amazing in Ohio because Sherrod Brown has been a senator for almost 20 years. And how is he doing?
Right.
People are fed up. They want to get Bernie Moreno in there, so I'm really proud of him. Hasn't been officially projected yet, but looking good for Bernie.
Yeah, looking great for Bernie. I just saw the corner of my eye. Hovde in Wisconsin is basically tied 49-49 right now. The edge is going to probably end up going to him.
Map so closely. Thank you so much, Megan and Harrison. They are joining us from West Palm Beach, the viewing party. President Donald J. Trump will hopefully be making a celebratory speech at that venue later on tonight, because when you take a look at what's happening on this electoral college map, it is downright inspiring at this moment. We're talking about 6 out of the 7 swing states now turning in favor for Donald J. Trump, from Georgia to North Carolina. Look at Pennsylvania, Michigan, Wisconsin, and we know on the West Coast, the polls are closing in 1 minute. Well, actually, it's 9:56. 9:56, 4 minutes away from just about all of the polls closing, and then slowly but surely we're going to start to get these returns. And even in California, Donald J. Trump has a chance, and it's not just for him. He knows that we need a Republican Senate, we need a Republican House of Representatives, and there are races, especially in Orange County, California, where we could have new congressional leaders turning blue seats red in the House of Representatives. Now, I do want to point out, we know that California typically goes blue, same for Oregon, same for Washington, Idaho, almost always a red state. This is a big agricultural area, a lot of rural communities here. Boise, Idaho sometimes goes blue. It has been red before. We're expecting Idaho to be red. In Nevada, where we have 6 electoral votes up for grabs, this is going to be a big one as well. But I do believe when you look at the latest polling data, when you take a look at what's been happening with the registrations, Nevada will likely go to Trump. Now, let's kind of focus in and show you how much of a margin President Trump is leading by now in these key battleground states. We are looking good right now. 51% for Donald J. Trump in the state of Georgia, 48.2% meanwhile. That's what we're seeing in Georgia. Now let me take you into North Carolina. We're looking good for 50.9% versus 48% for Harris. That looks good. He's now at 210. We're looking great there. Over 113 for Kamala Harris. We know she's going to get that 54 more than likely for California, so it's still going to be a very tight election. We take you now into Michigan, show you what's happening there. 51-47 in Michigan. We had a feeling the blue collar vote was going to go to Donald Trump in Michigan. It is revealing that at this time. When it comes to how many votes have been counted, 27%. Still going to be a long night here. We're going to have to wait a little bit longer, but it does look more favorable. We take a look now at what's happening in Wisconsin. 59% of the vote has been tallied, and President Donald J. Trump is up in the Badger State, 50.2% to 48.4% here. In the state of Minnesota, a state that would be a wild surprise for all of us. This is Tim Walz's home state, and go ahead in the chat, light it up. Tell us what you think of Walz having him as your potential vice president. We want to hear what you have to say. Minnesota right now, 9% of the vote has been counted, 61% versus 36% for Donald J. Trump, and the rest going to other candidates on the ballot. And of course, we're going to finish off with Arizona. And then I'm going to talk about one of our great sponsors, Birch Gold. First up, though, Arizona. Right now, 50% of the vote has been tallied, 49% going to Donald J. Trump, and 49%, they're dead heat right now in Arizona. But again, Phoenix has reported, just outside of Tucson has reported. Look at all this rural territory where crime rates have gone up because of illegal migration. We're looking much better off. Right now, on the map, we have 6 out of the 7 swing states looking favorable for Donald J. Trump. And of course, the 7th is going to be Nevada. And the polls just closed in Nevada just moments ago. And so we are looking good. Now, here's the deal. How it goes in California, Oregon, Washington, Nevada, some of these states that do have later voting, obviously it's the West Coast, they have to tally every single vote. So if you're waiting in line, stay in line. You might be joining us on your phone as you're waiting in line. Stay in line. Make sure that you get that vote counted, because it's not just for Donald J. Trump that we have to concern ourselves with. It is the entire House and the entire Senate. Now, Birch Gold has been a spectacular sponsor for us here at RSBN, and As we meet up here tonight on this final night, when we finally get a decision, it's people like Birch Gold that we can thank. When our founder, Joe Seals, started this 9 years ago, he needed some help. He found great sponsors for us. And so we're looking really, really good right now on the map. And part of the reason why President Donald J. Trump appreciates what we have to offer at RSBN is because we do not have to hide who we care about so much. And Birch Gold allows us to bring you this coverage. The Biden-Harris regime, they have reduced our purchasing power. Our money doesn't go as far as it used to. In order to keep up with the trend, many of us have had to max out credit cards. Others of us have had to dip into our 401k. Well, you don't have to do that. You can get some diversification in your life and have a sound peace of mind about your finances with Birch Gold. Precious metals has been a safe haven for years and years, since the Roman Empire, as a matter of fact. Now, if we are blessed, as this map is leading us to believe, with the Donald J. Trump presidency, it's still going to take our economy some time to rebound. We talked about the Keystone XL pipeline. If that project goes up and running again, it's still going to take about a year before we start to see it really make a difference in our economy. So you can protect your savings with the help of our friends from Birch Gold, and they will help you. They will educate you. They will get you the resources that you need so that you can make sound financial decisions for your family. And if you act fast, especially tonight before these are gone, you can still get that silver coin that you see featured there on the side of your screen. It's gorgeous. It features President Donald J. Trump with his fist in the air as he defiantly says, "Fight, fight, fight." This is the man who we want to lead our country. This is the man who will stand up to our foreign adversaries. And you can commemorate that moment with this coin. Now, if you're interested, you can ask questions. You don't have to go ahead and buy something right away. They want to help you. They'll help you ask the right questions. Text 989898. Text the word Trump to 989898. Secure your financial future with our friends at Birch Gold Group. And also, another way that you can educate yourself, and your children for that matter, is with the help of Mike Huckabee. And he has helped us all out with the free Trump book. Now, the free Trump book is one of those things you sign up for and you become part of a club, and they continue to update you with valuable resources for your kids that they're not going to get anywhere else. And this is an opportunity for you to spend some time with your kids reading and talking about politics, talking about our country, what makes it great. The mainstream media has never treated President Donald J. Trump fairly. What our kids are learning about him from the mainstream media is false. So Mike Huckabee's team put together a fantastic gift bundle that includes the Kids Guide to President Trump and the Kids Guide to Courage of the President. Both are excellent resources for young Americans. Our children, they're the ones who are going to inherit this great nation. That's why we want so much for Donald J. Trump to win this presidency tonight. 4 more years for Donald J. Trump. But you can educate them on why it's so important so that they make good decisions when they become of age to cast that all-important vote. Plus, if you act now, you can get a commemorative Christmas ornament. Visit freetrumpbook.com. Order yours today. Your children and grandchildren, they deserve to hear the inspirational stories of Donald J. Trump, not just what the media forces on us. Again, you can get yours by visiting freetrumpbook.com. Okay, back to the map, because while I was talking, we had a little bit of action. Not the greatest action, but it's not that big of a shock. We were expecting this. California has gone to Kamala Harris. So now we're at 179 to 214, and the race to 270 goes on. We're still not intimidated, though. Washington State also called for Kamala Harris. Not a surprise there. You think about the city of Seattle. You think about what happened during the riots. This is an area where the Democrat governors have decided to put their hands off when it comes to law and order. In California, Prop 36, we're going to find out what the decision is there before long tonight. That is the law and order. Basically, that's the measure that would keep people from being able to just walk into a store and take $1,000 worth of goods right off the shelf. 70% of the state said that they don't want it. When Kamala Harris was asked about it, she said she wasn't going to chime in. That's the woman who could potentially lead our country. Now, when you take a look at this map, it goes to show you that's not what most Americans want. And so things are looking much better, because even when you cast these votes, when you think about what these votes mean for Kamala Harris, it's only brought her up to 179. We've still got Nevada, and this will likely turn red. And again, 6 out of the 7 swing states at this point in the evening are all shaded in red. Now, I'd like to jump in the chat from time to time. I like to see what you guys are interested in knowing more about. And somebody said they want to know about Colorado. So here's a look at what's happening in Colorado. This is why it turned red. I mean, you can see it pretty vividly here. Denver is the reason why. You go just to the south where you have cattle country in Colorado Springs area. That area is red. So within the big cities, even in Fort Collins, that is what turned the state blue, or kept it blue, to say, I mean, to just be quite frank, because this is one of those states that typically votes blue, just like some of our other states that are heavily influenced by the populous areas where you get that dense population hub, and it's Denver in Colorado. So let's take a minute and kind of look around a little bit more, see if there's any changes of note here. I'm feeling really good about the fact that you see so much red here in Minnesota. Even at this hour, we continue to tally the votes up there. 12% of the votes now have been counted. 60.6% to Donald J. Trump. So guys, I mean, this is downright inspiring. The fact that 6 out of the 7 swing states are looking favorable for Donald Trump. Now, Virginia, I know you two are getting pretty excited about Virginia. I had a feeling it was going to go blue. Just want to give you an idea where Virginia is right now. 50% Kamala, 48% Donald J. Trump, so it's still relatively tight. But because of its proximity to Washington, D.C., obviously D.C. within Virginia, this is an area that typically goes blue. So Matthew, Bobby, I don't know about you. I know it's still early, but boy, oh boy, we're looking good for our Donald J. Trump.
We are. It's 11:07 Eastern time. Thank you so much, Christina Loren there, breaking down all of the electoral map that you saw right there. And we were talking about Virginia. We know that Harris has about a 2% lead over there. Still polls, precincts to be counted and votes to be counted there. Let's look at North Carolina again real quick. It looks like President Trump is leading in North Carolina 50.8% to 48%. So 50.8 to 48 over Harris. That is one of the key swing states. We're looking at 16. That's a huge number. 16 electoral votes, Bobby.
If that's 88% of the votes counted as well. If the Tar Heel state and same with the Peach state, if they drop in the direction of those 32 votes going towards President Trump, it's looking relatively clear that it would be very hard for Kamala Harris to have a pathway to victory if President Trump sweeps the Sun Belt here.
Also, let's talk about Georgia. It looks like there are other areas that people are calling Georgia as a win for President Trump. The Associated Press has not yet, so we are going to wait until we get that confirmed. And then, of course, we'll be glad to say Georgia went to President Trump. So we're going to be waiting here. You see right there, 90% of the votes in, 51%, 51.1 to 48.2. That is looking likely, Bobby.
Georgia on my mind. It's a beautiful thing. Let's hope it keeps going in that direction, but we want to bring you fair and accurate results and not just jump the gun too quickly here.
Exactly. So Pennsylvania, Michigan, Wisconsin, and Minnesota. What those states have in common right now is that President Trump is leading in Minnesota, Wisconsin, Michigan, Pennsylvania. Right now, the numbers out of Arizona, the Grand Canyon state, President Donald J. Trump has the lead out there on the West Coast with 50% of the votes counted in Arizona as well, as you see those Georgia numbers with President Trump in the lead there. So things are, listen, it's not about worrying about getting too excited about certain things. I mean, the facts are the facts. And right now, President Trump is, as you said, Bobby, 56 electoral votes away, right?
Right, correct.
From being the 47th president of the United States. And If you look at each of the states, again, guys, Arizona, Minnesota, Wisconsin, Michigan, Pennsylvania, North Carolina, and Georgia are all leading. President Trump is leading every state that I just mentioned in the union. This is quite interesting and quite wonderful to see, Bobby.
And I do believe that many times it doesn't matter ultimately who you select as your running mate. If President Trump is able to win Michigan, Wisconsin, and Minnesota, I believe Senator J.D. Vance and his performance in that debate was truly crucial. And we know that President Trump has an eye for finding talent. And Senator J.D. Vance, God willing, the next Vice President of the United States, really compliments President Trump so well. And he's shown that with his tough yet gentle nature, really calling out other reporters, saying to certain folks, are you listening to yourself, talking about migrant crime and Trende Aragua taking over the apartment complexes in Aurora, saying, oh, it's just one or two. And said, well, what if you live there? I mean, J.D. Vance goes right to the core of policy. And he's been there, he knows how to do it. His life has been affected from big government policies and how to make something of yourself when you're up against the ropes.
J.D. Vance's interview with fake tapper over at fake news CNN, these are words that President Trump uses, so I'm using those words as well, but did such a great job. This was about a week and a half ago. J.D. Vance just shut it down. Jake was trying to angle with all these questions. And when you go against truth, you're going to look dumb. If you're not on the side of truth, you're going to look stupid. Well,
you and I and classy Christina Loren, of course, all coming from mainstream news outlets. I remember those discussions, those training, especially early on in our careers. The idea that it's not right or left or conservative or liberal or what have you on a topic. Is the sky blue? Is it sunny outside? Is it raining? There are just specific truths and natural law that binds us. Well, that's changed for a lot of mainstream outlets in the last few years because when Donald Trump came onto the scene, they just kind of lost their minds in the process. Kari Lake talks a lot about this. She was the lead anchor for nearly 2 decades out at Fox 10 in Arizona, an outstanding news person herself. And wow, she's like, the whole industry went crazy when he came onto the scene.
Exactly. So she was an anchor at Fox 10 in Phoenix, and then now we should actually check that race. So why don't we do that?
Let's do that. Absolutely.
So there's a lot of races to check out there when it comes to congressional and Senate races. Let's also look at Hung Kao, the race in Virginia for Senate there. We know that Kari Lake and Hung Kao are Trump-endorsed candidates. Those are big races. So let's see if we can get some numbers on Kari Lake. But we do know, we see right there out of Virginia, President Trump down by a bit of a percentage there. Not too much, of course, 1.7% down, but 89.4% in with the vote count in Virginia. So that is a wild card state that we've been watching. The other wild card state was Minnesota. And we know that President Trump is leading in Minnesota. And I think, this is just my guess, not a prediction, but just a guess, that President Trump will win the state of Minnesota. President Trump, get this, has a lead in that state, 60.5% over Harris at 37.4%. Now, when I look at the numbers a little closer, Bobby, 14% of the votes are counted in Minnesota right now, so only 14%. So he does have quite the lead there in Minnesota, but we still have a little bit to go.
Some time to go. It's a significant lead at the moment. Again, early count, as we saw in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania tonight, where it seems as if they counted the urban areas first, because there was a strong lead at first for Vice President Harris, but now that has seemed to be much more even and narrowed. Just going back to the Arizona Senate race, Ruben Gallego, a relatively popular Democrat congressman, slightly up right now, 52.5% against Kari Lake's 45.8%, with 49% of the votes counted. So too soon, a relatively narrow race, and the Green Party candidate there right now, Eduardo Quintana, with 1.7% of the vote, 31,000 roughly of the popular vote in that race.
And you see on the right side of your screen there the U.S. Senate election right now. So if you look at the state of Virginia or the Commonwealth of Virginia, Timothy Kaine is leading against Hung Kao, the Trump-endorsed candidate, 52.5% to 47.5%. There's 75% of the votes counted there. So Timothy Kaine has 1.8 million, and then Hung Kao has 1.6 million. So not looking too good right there, but we still have about, 15% or so, 25% of the vote yet to be counted in Virginia. So that's a little bit of the Senate races there. We know that it looks like Joe Kent. Let's check out Joe Kent in Washington State. Don't see that specifically on this right here, but we'll be checking that in a bit. How about Vermont? We were interviewing Gerald Malloy quite a bit here at the network. Bernie Sanders, the career politician, won that race there. But let's get back to the presidential race right now. As we know, President Trump in the lead, 214 to 179. You are looking live, West Palm Beach, actually Palm Beach, Florida, right now at the convention center there. RSBN's Harrison Fields and Megan Kohler, Bobby, they're live. The energy in that room must be, guys, those of you watching that have been to rallies, all of that excitement and hope for our country. Not just an emotional high, but just something that says, you know what, I'd much rather have common sense leadership. Or I want to have the Constitution as the law of the land. The basics, right? Well, that energy there is probably all the rallies culminated in one room. And for those of you watching, wherever you're watching right now, we're with you guys. We're seeing these numbers come in. And this is looking good. As you see on the lower part of your screen there, President Trump at 214 to Harris 179. President Trump, is it 60 electoral votes exactly? You were saying 56?
There is roughly, according to the AP, he has 214, so 56 electoral votes needed, and he will be reelected as the 47th president of the United States.
Exactly. So you see that number right there, 214 to 179, getting closer. All of these campaign rallies, all of these campaign stops all across the country, and all of the common sense Americans, the everyday Americans, Bobby, showing up with early voting, showing up to the polls today, as of right now, looking toward a victory for President Trump. Not confirmed. We're not projecting that right now. When we get the numbers, I believe there will be a result tonight. Do you believe that too?
I do, because you did have the secretaries of state in Georgia and Michigan who have been under fire during a couple of past cycles with different discrepancies there and late counts, things of that nature, come out this afternoon, early afternoon, and said we will have a result at some point in the evening or the early morning hours, and they're tabulating quickly. And you can see that with 90% of the vote in the Peach State. Now, Michigan's still somewhat behind. 31% is in the Wolverine State, but very close. And in the meantime, you may have noticed that the vice president's numbers electorally jumped. Of course, Washington and California going for the vice president.
Breaking news right now, the Tar Heel State, 16 electoral votes. President Donald J. Trump has won the state of North Carolina. This confirmed right now. The AP projecting President Donald J. Trump, as you see the numbers there, right there on your screen, President Trump winning North Carolina. That, again, a big win, 16 electoral votes. That is, Bobby, the third election cycle that President Trump has won North Carolina.
And they worked hard for that on the ground. A huge congratulations, Chairman Jason Simmons, and an outstanding group of people who really crisscrossed North Carolina. I was so privileged to, I believe, spend most of my time in North Carolina at those rallies, all the way from Asheville to Asheboro, Greenville to Greensboro, down in Charlotte on a couple of occasions. It's an extraordinary state. It's a beautiful state. And common sense people, they've had a lot of people from New York move there for a better way of life. And gosh, there was a beautiful sunset yesterday morning that seemed to be smiling over North Carolina State's beautiful basketball arena to see President Trump start the first off of 4 different rallies yesterday to seal the deal in the Tar Heel State.
So what we're looking for right now, for the next 4 years, if this actually happens, is a golden age for our country, right? And the verge, as President Trump said, of the 4 greatest years of our country. So a golden age, same difference. So let's thank a couple of sponsors real quick as we get ready to see the races called for the rest of the swing states and a few others out there, including Virginia and including Minnesota, the 2 wild cards, Arizona, of course, a swing state. So let's go to Ultra Right Beer. And this is one of our sponsors here at Right Side. You see that can there? That's a tough looking can, I'll be real.
You know, I think I'm going to get a 6-pack, and whoever I have Thanksgiving with, especially those who might have supported our vice president, I might offer them a fight can as we're watching the Lions and the Bears. I don't think any Tigers are playing, but regardless, oh my.
That is wild. I mean, TrumpFightBeer.com. Save 10% using RSBN. Next up, AngelPaste.com. Angel Paste. This company is out of Spring, Texas. They hire military veterans. A great product there. Angel Paste Miracle Cream. All you have to do is go to AngelPaste.com. Check out what's on the website there. Another great sponsor right here at Right Side Broadcasting Network. All you got to do is go to AngelPaste.com. Check it out. It's an awesome sponsor here at Right Side Broadcasting Network. Okay, so we're at 2:30 in the sense of the electoral count right now. We are literally 40 electoral votes away from a win for President Trump. So we know that North Carolina just went to President Trump. We have Pennsylvania that has 19 electoral votes up for grabs. We have Georgia at 16, Michigan 15, Wisconsin 10, Arizona is at 11, Nevada is at 6. The wild card races would be Virginia and Minnesota. President Trump is not leading in Virginia currently, but that is such a close race right now because it is literally 50.1% for Harris, 48.3% for President Trump, with 76% of the votes counted. So we'll keep our eye on Virginia. But Bobby, as you see there, let's talk about, look at this beautiful thing right here. This is, you're seeing it right there on the map. I'm going to show Bobby the same thing. He's looking at the same thing. Look at this. Minnesota, Wisconsin, Michigan, Pennsylvania, all leading for President Donald J. Trump.
Right, and then Pennsylvania, the Commonwealth, and the Peach State of Georgia with, well, 90% in for Georgia, 76% in for Pennsylvania. If those two drop, it would be very difficult for the vice president to overcome that.
Yeah, exactly. So those of you that are watching right now, and you might see other outlets or other places saying that Georgia has gone to President Trump, well, trust us, we can't wait to say the same thing. But the point is, we're waiting along with the Associated Press on this one. And totally, when that number comes through, we'll be declaring and projecting President Trump the winner of the Peach State. And you'll be doing that one, definitely, if that's the case, coming up here any second from now, because, of course, living in Georgia, quite awesome. Good
common sense people. They were not happy with the last 4 years, and I have been resident myself for nearly 3 years in the beautiful state of Georgia, and they have an opportunity here to literally save the nation.
And one of our production crew here at Right Side Broadcasting Network, you didn't see him and we won't name him, but literally came in, he had to work on the camera a little bit, and he pointed to the peach sticker that he voted for, I believe, President Trump. So
we say post the peach, and I did that with the wonderful, handsome Harrison Fields back at that Atlanta rally on October 15th. I voted the first day of early voting, and it was a special moment, but we like to post the peach, and you can see that on my personal social medias.
Harris has 187, President Trump 230. We are 40 electoral votes away from the 47th President of the United States, the Commander-in-Chief being Donald J. Trump. All right, let's go to a couple sponsors here.
Yes, Sticker Mule. You can see these beautiful stickers right here. Great examples of their work, but Right Side Broadcasting, I always double check when I take my laptop out, is it mine? Because when I'm at the airport, it gets to be pretty busy there, and You see the Right Side Broadcasting stickers, and I know it's mine. But some exciting news for you guys. Stickerpack.com, with this election right now in real time, you're watching this, a very exciting election, the most historic in most of our lifetimes. You can sign up using this link at stickerpack.com, whether it's for fun or you want to support President Trump, of course, further, and put that on your laptop or maybe even the card to show your MAGA energy. Whether you want to just spark up some fun conversation, Sticker Mule is your place to go, and they've got you covered. That is stickerpack.com to get your free Trump sticker pack today. And hurry, it's only for a limited time, and who knows how many there are left with this election seemingly closing in on 270.
Exactly. So stickerpack.com. Let's move on to AMAC, the Association of Mature American Citizens. It's actually the leading conservative voice for Americans 50 and older. So members will receive a whole slew of items, a subscription to the AMAC magazine, exclusive discounts on a wide range of benefits as well, and some free resources. So it's just amac.com for that information, as well as it is that website, as you see, if you go to amac.us/RSBN. Let's go back to some more coverage here as we get ready to see what the swing state results will be here in the country. We're looking at Pennsylvania still. We know that right now there's a video being played in West Palm Beach. If we want to go there, we can. Director, just let me know if you want to go there for that video as we are waiting for the numbers to come in here at the RSBN studios. Of course, you've heard from Christina Loren. Okay, we're going to stay right here because obviously, you know, in rally coverage, of course, we go to those videos, don't we, Bobby?
And that's that fighter video, that boldness of this lion, this great leader, President Donald Trump. He's an extraordinary human being, and that's what I hope to convey in those last few weeks, especially after meeting with him briefly in Aurora, Colorado. He's extraordinarily approachable, and yet he's this American icon, someone who did not need the American presidency, but rather used his business acumen to change the landscape of Washington, D.C. And what I'm most excited about is this second cabinet.
Let's go to West Palm Beach and check out the rest of that video. You know, those political videos that we've seen at all of the different rallies, I remember there's so many of them, and they're all really good, aren't they?
I mean, it really speaks to the character and this man who's engaged the culture. You know, I actually sat in a meeting during my tenure at Turning Point USA with the Duffys, and wonderful people, and Sean Duffy, a former congressman. They spoke on the difference between the Mitt Romney Republican Party and the Donald Trump Republican Party. You know the difference? Donald Trump was unafraid to engage the culture. Romney thought he was above it. He thought he was, oh, you know, it's all about the country club meetings. It's all about civil society in his view. No, it's about the American people. It's about these great people who have attended these rallies, regardless of their backgrounds, who care about the future of this country. And President Trump is the leader of really a populist movement that this country needed. Dwight Eisenhower warned us of this. The military-industrial complex, JFK, I believe, lost his life for going up against a deep state. And we've seen this in the modern presidency. We've seen the ones who go along to get along, and we've seen the ones who buck the system to make a difference for everyday Americans.
That's why we love an outsider president, an outsider candidate, and that's who Donald Trump is. And that's who Ronald Reagan was.
Absolutely.
I mean, we've got, it's always good to see people that aren't career politicians. If there are any out there that have done good, then great, but not many have done great things, especially in Washington.
And it's a society where you scratch each other's backs. It doesn't matter R versus D, and I think people have realized that. And one of the most glaring examples of that is James Comey and what he did at the FBI and how scandalous that was. You don't need people like that, dishonest individuals who are watching out for themselves and for specific institutions rather than protecting the American people.
Exactly. So we know that this election isn't right versus left, it's right versus wrong, and we see that right now right is winning, and winning by quite a number. So 230 for President Trump, 187 for Harris, 40 electoral votes to go for President Trump to be the projected winner of the White House, of the presidency, when he will become the president-elect Donald J. Trump. And on Truth Social, for those of you that love Truth and love X out there, if you want to follow us, it's at RSBN on Truth Social, or at RSB Network on X. Now, the reason why I bring up Truth is last night, it was the last rally for President Trump, the last campaign rally. And I just posted about that and got a decent amount of people liking it. Then I truthed something this morning. I quoted the truth and I said, today is the day, the first day where President Trump will be called President-elect Donald J. Trump. I just threw it out there at 8 this morning as we are believing and hoping and praying and working hard for it to happen. And as of right now, this may be what happens. Literally, Bobby, we both went into the day today. At least I did. I'll share my story here real quick as we were tracking the numbers. I really didn't know. I know that under a free and fair election, we know that President Trump would win. That's my opinion. But I still, you didn't know what's really going to happen. So that's where I'm at. But now we're seeing the numbers, which we're going to talk about here in just a second. What was your initial thought?
I think very similar. I was hopeful, optimistic, especially watching on the ground with the early vote initiatives. I mean, the Republican Party under Laura Trump and Michael Whatley has done an extraordinary job. Now it's still early in the night. It looks like there will be a Senate majority. We're at 49 right now to 40. And then I still need to break the numbers down, but looks like a net gain right now of at least one, Governor Jim Justice, now the senator-elect from West Virginia. But we have leads of Eric Hovde in Wisconsin. We have leads in Michigan with Mike Rogers, and a lead in Pennsylvania with Dave McCormick. And just up to a moment ago, Royce White was actually doing fairly well in Minnesota. He's fallen back a bit against Amy Klobuchar, so we'll see how that continues to develop. But many races, very narrow, very close. Ruben Gallego slightly ahead of Kari Lake in Arizona as well. So we'll keep developing and watching that. And this legislative agenda, crucial for President Trump, because we've seen what they do in times when they have the majority, and God forbid they try to impeach Donald Trump simply for winning an election. They might do that. Christina, do you have any updated numbers or breakdowns specifically on the legislative side that we can really dissect? Perhaps we have the lead in the House thus far. The Senate also a lead, but is there any projection of what the Congress may look like?
Congress right now, if you're talking about the Senate and the House both taking the lead for the Republicans, it looks like it's going to be a unified body backing President Donald J. Trump. Now, we can start to get a little bit more comfortable at this point in the evening. When you take a look at this map, you know that North Carolina has just been called for President Donald J. Trump. Georgia, Bobby McNeely's home state, is also looking good. Pennsylvania, when you take a look at what's happening, 19 electoral votes up for grabs. 77% now of the vote has been tallied, and Donald J. Trump 51% to 47%. So if President Trump takes Pennsylvania, he takes Michigan, which is also looking good for him, 51.5% to 46%. 0.8% in Michigan, where 37% of the vote has been tallied. You factor in Wisconsin at this point, 51% for Donald J. Trump versus 47%. So we're talking about some pretty good margins that he's leading by at this stage of the game. Now, Minnesota, which we were watching for much of the night, was actually leaning red. But at this point, now that 47% of the votes have been counted, it's 55% to Kamala Harris, and they're giving 42% to Donald J. Trump. And what you'll notice is a lot of these outlying areas in Minnesota, it's still not over here just yet. They still need to tally up these votes, and we need those returns before we have a final decision. So let's talk a little bit about North Carolina first. I want to take you in a little bit more granularly so that you can see what happened here. Because the big reporting sites, the big cities, Charlotte, Raleigh, even Greensboro, the third largest city within the state of North Carolina, all showing us blue. But it was the rural areas, it's rural America that decided this race for Donald J. Trump. And this is a big winner for Donald J. Trump. I know that he's probably very excited to hear about this. Lara Trump, of course, this is her home state. She's from Wilmington. And so this goes to show that the big cities aren't able to call the shots. When everybody shows up to vote, record early voting turnout, women, Republican women amongst that group showing up in droves. We had more women than men, Republicans voting early. So that goes to show what can happen when we all unite as a party. Now you take a look at Ohio, that's solid red as well. We had some questions about that earlier on in the night. Michigan will more than likely go to Donald J. Trump, and we're also looking good. We're still waiting on Nevada for any sort of information, where we do have those 6 electoral votes up for grabs. But even here in the state of Nevada, the early voting data shows us that President Donald J. Trump will likely win. Now, you asked about the House and the Senate. Take a look at the House map. This is what we're expecting. This is the leadership that we will have representing us in Washington, D.C. And right now, for the majority that you see here, we're talking about representatives that will more than likely, it's still going to be a rather small margin, it looks like at this point of the game, but we're going to have a Republican House. And that is going to be so important for Donald J. Trump to have that backup. And then when you look at the Senate race, there's still a lot of states where it's undecided. We're not getting really a lot of information about some of these key Senate races. A lot of course, Senates are incumbent and they're going to stay there because we have a new senator every 6 years. However, things are looking good in the races that we were watching. A third of the Senate was up for grabs. And as of tonight, we are also looking good towards a red majority. And a big part of the reason why is because Donald J. Trump pulled up that ticket. Now, I'm a little concerned about Carrie Lake here. 49% of the votes have been tallied. She's still at 45%, and that is versus, for Ruben Gallego, 52%. It's not over till it's over. It is not over till it's over, gentlemen. So these are races we're going to continue to watch as the night draws on. But at this point, most polling places have closed. We might still have some people waiting in line in some states like California, even Nevada. Every person in line will get the chance to cast their vote. So it's going to be a little bit longer. I would say another couple hours, maybe 3 hours, if we are to get a decision tonight. But it is looking more and more likely, gentlemen, like that will be the case.
Exactly. And you know what is interesting is that there are 8 states that we're really keeping our eye on. We have Pennsylvania, Georgia, Michigan, Wisconsin, Arizona, Nevada, Virginia, and Minnesota. I know that Virginia is going a little bit to the left right now. Can you double check the numbers on what the latest is there?
Sure. Virginia is interesting. As you both know, you see Richmond here. Richmond is where you're going to find the majority of people. Then you have Norfolk, Virginia as well. This is where you have your population hubs. And so a lot of people here are going to be voting for Kamala Harris. And then right up against the District of Columbia, we have another area where you have a lot of people who actually live here and then they commute back and forth into Washington, D.C., also known as the swamp in part. And so that is why you have that blue really starting to show up. Now, when it comes to the state of Virginia, just to give you some of the details there, we have 50% for Kamala Harris, 47.6% for Donald J. Trump, and it was the northern areas of Virginia that just started coming in, and that's really what kind of changed the game and flipped it back to blue. But it was red most of the night. It really brought up a lot of encouragement. This is a state that going into the next presidential election, if they did a lot of work, if the Republican Party really worked hard, they could flip this state red, even with its proximity to Washington, D.C.
Yes, again, that heavy, Christina, thank you for pointing that out, the heavy D.C. suburbs having a huge influence over the state. But another net gain for the Republicans, we can project along with the AP that Bernie Moreno is the senator-elect from Ohio, a big pickup against Sherrod Brown, who really tried to run with President Trump. And we're now seeing even Eric Hovde with 70% of the vote nearly in Wisconsin. He's in the lead by 0.5%, a very tight race with Tammy Baldwin. We also saw the same strategy from her, being tough on China and being for President Trump's tariffs. So, you know, even some Democrats running with President Trump's message.
Absolutely. And again, I mean, you take a look at the way that the Senate breakdown has occurred here in the state of Wisconsin. And again, you've got Madison, which is a college town to the south here in Wisconsin, and Milwaukee blue. But as you get north toward Green Bay, that is where the Republican turnout has been tremendous. And then you take a look at all these outlying cities and these rural counties. They have made such a difference in this election so far. Now, we're still tallying up the votes across the state of Wisconsin. For the Senate race, we actually, let me tell you how much is done here. We are at 69%. So Eric Hovde just jumped up to 49.8% versus Tammy Baldwin at 48.2%.
A lot of states still too early to call, even though President Trump is leading in these huge swing states, everywhere from Michigan, Wisconsin, Pennsylvania, and Georgia, correct?
Absolutely correct. You're right on point. In fact, in 6 out of the 7, he's still holding a strong lead. So that's Arizona, Wisconsin, Michigan, Pennsylvania. He won North Carolina and Georgia as well. They're almost done counting the votes in Georgia, where we now have 91% of the votes counted, 51 to 48% in Georgia. So we're looking good in the Peach State. Arizona could be a game changer as well. We have 49.7 to 49.5. So it is razor thin margins at this point in the state of Arizona, with 50% of the votes counted. But you take a look at these numbers. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
That's okay, go ahead.
Oh, for the great Matthew Alvarez, I'm going to shut my mouth and take a step back and listen to what you have to say. What were you going to ask?
Oh, come on now. That's not how that works here. You know that. But anyway, that's fun. I like it. But the point is, Minnesota, can you update us on the numbers in Minnesota right now? Like, my point is, with the wild card states of Virginia and Minnesota, we've seen them back and forth. But I'm starting to back off on calling them wild card states if Minnesota and Virginia are not going to go red. I hope they do, but what's the latest there?
Well, Minnesota turned blue not too long ago, and kind of by a rather large margin. And I think the reason why is because this area, the suburbs surrounding Minneapolis, of course, that's the big concentration of people. That's where you have your population center. Here in the state of Minnesota, wildly went blue. But, you know, you take a look to the north, we still have a lot of counties that need to report. Duluth is another area that will likely go red. And so this race isn't quite finished just yet either. That's not decided yet. And when it comes to Minnesota right now, we're at 53.5% versus 44.4%. But of course, you have to factor in Minneapolis, and we'll see what happens. Right now, 51% of the votes have been counted in the state of Minnesota.
Now we can make the call that AP is projecting Virginia is in the column for the vice president.
Yep.
That's unfortunate, but as we know, the swamp is nearby, and a lot of people who commute back and forth to D.C., it is outrageously expensive to live in Washington, D.C., even just to stay there, to travel there to our nation's capital. It's very expensive. So a lot of people live to the south in the suburbs, and so that is probably what pulled the blue there. So we're at 205 now versus 230, but the odds are with us. They're looking really good. And again, I'm very cautiously optimistic. However, we're going to continue on in this night until we have a decision. If we do get one tonight, it is looking more and more likely that we will get a decision in just a few hours.
Exactly. So we're laser sharp focused on now the following states. We're laser sharp focused on Pennsylvania, Georgia, Michigan, Wisconsin, Arizona, Nevada. That is what, six swing states right there. We know North Carolina, as you said, went to President Trump. So all right, so we have 6 to go. Let's see what happens. We're 40 electoral votes away. The thing is like you said, we can get a little comfortable, but not too comfortable, because at the end of the day, you never know, right? So we really have to see this come through at 40 electoral votes still to go. And we see that he's been leading, though, in these swing states in red for a while, though, right? Like, we haven't seen PA or Michigan go back and forth too much as of the past hour, correct?
That's absolutely correct. And then Pennsylvania now with 82% of the vote. Then 51% for Donald Trump and 47% for Kamala. I'm feeling really good about that. And so if you add the 19 to the 230, we're talking about he's up to 249 if we get Pennsylvania. And then it's only going to take a couple more. Wisconsin, Michigan, Arizona, Nevada still on the line. His chances are looking great. You factor in Georgia, which is also leaning towards President Donald J. Trump, and you see why I've got a little extra spring in my step. But you're right. It ain't over till it's over, Matthew Alvarez. I completely
100%.
know.
It's going to be quite awesome. Let's just look into the future maybe 4 hours from now, right? Say President Trump wins the 2024 election. What is it going to be like throughout the country tonight in various cities, various towns, rural areas, suburban areas? What about tomorrow? Just hopefully a lot of joy in the country. And then those on the left, hopefully it just stays calm. But the point is, you know, we're looking at 40 more electoral votes. Christina Loren, thank you so much for all of that live reporting there in the projection room, the RSBN projection room.
Absolutely. Let me know when you want some more, and I'll be right here for you.
I hear you. Thank you so much. All right, awesome stuff. I mean, 230 for Donald Trump, 205 for Harris. So we see we're getting closer, but now it's just kind of watching the clock and see what happens. Callshe.com as well has been really hot tonight because obviously the election.
Right.
So let me look at the latest numbers there for Callshe.com. Let's see. Callshe is, wow, look at that.
94% chance of Donald Trump becoming next president of the United States.
Yes.
Very exciting.
Yes, 6% for Harris, 94% for President Trump. That's on Callshe right now, so that's pretty awesome. Director, can you let us know the next direction? All right, so we'll go to Victory Coffee. If you go to victorycoffeeroasters.com, that's the great website for this veteran-owned, and it was actually founded by an Army colonel and his wife who proudly support President Trump. So it's not just any coffee, it's the coffee that President Trump would love, rich, robust, and ready to energize your MAGA morning. So a great product there, right here on Right Side Broadcasting Network. Always good to see so many patriotic companies that just work with a patriotic network like ours.
And the entrepreneurial spirit of these great groups that said, enough is enough, I'm going to go out there and serve the American people and serve them well. And it's been great to see how many of these new companies have come about, really in the last few years because of the cancel culture.
Exactly. And if we could see maybe West Palm Beach here on the monitor, that'd be great, as we can hopefully see how the Team Trump party is going there in West Palm Beach. Also, we were up in Pennsylvania as well. Nikki Stanzione there at a Team Trump event as well. So always good to see various events going on around the country right here on Right Side Broadcasting Network. We're waiting to see which states are projected for President Trump. Okay. Okay, so the race is not called. We're just hearing about Georgia right now with the AP, but the Georgia Secretary of State says President Trump has an insurmountable lead right now, but the state has not called it for Georgia at this point. And we will wait until the Associated Press and others make that call. And of course, but right now, President Trump with this sizable lead in the Peach State, some good news for the 45th and soon to become, we see the 47th, possibly the 47th president of the United States. Looking on various pictures here live in West Palm Beach, the place is packed, just having a great time there as they watch the numbers come in, Bobby.
Oh, it's an exciting room, and it's great to see that in West Palm Beach because these people have worked so hard on this campaign. The blood, the sweat, the tears, literally, in the case of President Trump, taking a bullet for democracy, and perhaps the stalwart that changed the dynamics of this race. People that have come to politics like Joe Rogan and Megyn Kelly, who once covered it or had an interest in it, but then saying, for my family, for the future of this nation, I have to get involved, and I have to endorse President Trump.
Exactly. So I believe you're looking at on the screen there, Director, if we can get that on the monitor here, the president leading in Pennsylvania, 51.4% over 47.6% over Harris. So we're looking at 2.9 million votes you see there for President Trump to 2.7. What a swing state to win if President Trump wins this one. That's a big one there, Bobby.
That is gigantic. If looking at this now, if it's the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, the Peach State of Georgia, and of course Nevada, he is the next president.
Exactly.
So that would put him over 270.
Do we have, Director, do we have the popular vote numbers? Do we have the popular vote numbers anywhere? There they are, popular vote totals. Through the last updated returns, 60.1 million Americans, over 56.1 for Harris. So that's the popular vote totals. We know the numbers right now when it comes to the electoral map as well. Possibly we could take a look at that too as we are here just reporting live for you guys as we see the numbers come in on Right Side Broadcasting Network. We know that President Trump at last look was at about 230 electoral votes, so still that 40 to go. And we'll be looking to see what races are called, and of course we'll call them right here. Just a shout out to everybody also here at Right Side in the studio that is working on all of these numbers and seeing everything come to fruition here and all of the graphics and everything going on. We're just working as a team right now as we see at 11:52 p.m. Eastern Time. We're approaching November 6th, Bobby, and by November 6th, I believe we'll know who the next president will be.
As President Trump said, this is Liberation Day. Remember the 5th of November, and what a potentially historic moment. This doesn't happen often where someone loses the presidency and then makes that comeback. This would only be the second time, in fact, in American history.
As you see at the bottom of your screen, I agree with you 100% on that. You see awaiting results from key swing states. So that's exactly what we're doing here at Right Side. That's what you're doing there at home or wherever you're watching us. Thanks so much for tuning in or live streaming in. I keep saying tuning in. You're not tuning in. You're live streaming in. Let's talk about RepublicanRed.com. RepublicanRed.com, the winery there. So many varieties of wine at RepublicanRed.com. You see a few of them right there. And isn't there a Pinot Noir that's...
It's the Never Surrender. It's a collectible item. Really fantastic. And perhaps some of you might have it tonight to enjoy a potential victory. We're not getting ahead of ourselves, but it's looking rather positive. And then, of course, you have the Second Amendment Cabernet, a great way to celebrate our freedoms there, and then the Drain the Swamp Chardonnay, of course, a crisp white to enjoy, making fun of the bureaucratic state, and it really is we the people versus the uniparty.
Exactly, and that's what the fork in the road is that we're facing right now. We finally got to the fork. We've been talking about it. I know I've said it 500 times on this network, but it's true. Like
it's been a journey, hasn't it? It's been 4 years of twists and turns and people losing their lives. And that's the thing, it's the preventable crime we've spoken of, whether it's an open border, the fentanyl poisoning, the unnecessary wars. Vladimir Putin would not have invaded Ukraine, period. Wherever you stand on that. And the fact that we send hundreds of millions and sometimes billions over to the Ukrainian government, and then you have natural disasters here, and our FEMA cannot help out people in Western North Carolina. This will all change in a matter of weeks.
Exactly. Director, where are we going next on the next sponsor here? All right, the Trump Combat Knife, PatriotAddictDeals.com, PatriotAddictDeals.com. So many great products there for President Trump and MAGA. If you love MAGA, you love President Trump, PatriotAddictDeals.com is for you. And also RSBN 30 for this great discount there for 30% off. You can get that at PatriotAddictDeals.com. Let's take a look at some live pictures. Hopefully we can go to West Palm, but also it would be great to see the electoral map as well. That's as we track everything coming through right now. It is still 230 to 205 for President Trump. So we've been watching the numbers since 6 p.m. Eastern time. We've been live the whole time with Christina Loren, who you've seen in the projection room, and then also Harrison Fields and Megan Kohler in Florida, which will be going back there. That is quite the party tonight in Florida, especially if President Trump wins this one. We're looking at Wisconsin, Michigan, and Pennsylvania. President Trump still leading. He's leading in Georgia. He's leading in Arizona. No numbers yet for Nevada, so those numbers are not even in at all right now as we approach the midnight hour here on Right Side Broadcasting Network. Bobby, your thoughts at this point?
Well, it's also interesting that one more victory in a Senate seat and the Republicans then have the majority in at least one chamber. And now also a significant lead in the U.S. House, 171 to 129 right now. Of course, 435 seats all up for grabs every 2 years in the House. But things looking rather positive as we move into what will be Wednesday, November 6th, the day after the election.
Oh boy, it would be quite awesome to see the results here tonight or midnight right in the morning. All right, so we're going to go to way up north from where we are here in Alabama. We're going to go to Pennsylvania, the huge swing state of Pennsylvania right now. So let's go there to Nikki Stanzione, who joins us live from a Trump team watch party. Nikki, take it away.
Hey guys, this is pretty unbelievable what has just happened over the last few minutes. There has been a very obvious shift in the energy. I think people were getting very excited about what was happening, throughout the night, and seeing these numbers starting to get really, really good for Pennsylvania as we were starting to initially close the gap. But now over the last few minutes, as we saw the lead that Dave McCormick has been taking, he has been working relentlessly on the campaign trail. Every time President Trump has been here in Pennsylvania at a rally, we've seen Dave McCormick take the stage. He has been fighting hard for this state, and this crowd wants to see him go over the edge and take it home. And of course, every time we hear these Pennsylvania results coming in for President Trump being approximately around 51-47 at this point in the lead against Kamala, I'll tell you what, it's a different feeling. It's a feeling of confidence. It's a different level of optimism. And when we saw Bucks County take it from earlier in the night, when we were at about, I think it was about 76% when they first started rolling into for her side, now it is absolutely